Hi empaths, welcome to Heart Space Wellness Alliance. Here's my healing room. Let's get started. Hi empaths, welcome back to another reading. Thank you to all new subscribers, welcome. Anyone who has become a personal client or is donating to the channel, thank you. It's a pleasure to serve you. And thank you for all the likes, comments, and shares. That's so helpful. The feedback's really appreciated. What else do I want to say? Connect with me on Instagram as well, urban_empath. I'm providing unique content over there as well. And yeah, let's get into the reading. I'm going to clear our auras, the cards, the energy of the space, invoking angels, guides, compassionate ancestors, any beings of the light who want to inform this reading for the most concise, accurate, helpful, valuable reading that resonates and is priority for the listener to hear at the time of viewing this video. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to pull a card from the original angel cards to see what's priority to look at right now. Release. Release. Aw. There's a mama angel seeing her kids off to school as they go away in the school bus. That's cute. Release. So release can have a lot of meanings. We can have an emotional release. Right when I had my first Reiki session, I was healing a broken heart. And that wasn't really my intention for the session. I just had a friend, Krista Mitchell, gave me my first Reiki session. We were working together at East West Living, a metaphysical bookstore, cafe and yoga studio, right? We sold all kinds of metaphysical products and things like that. Well, she had befriended me, and I had never experienced energy work before, and she took me in, and the session started before I even got on the table, right? I walked into her apartment and I was like, I already want to cry. I don't know why. I don't know why. And she's like, it's okay. And led me into the room, and I had a huge emotional release. And that was the initiation of, I think, my healing journey, healing that broken heart. So that's coming in. There might also have been a hiccup in the process of differentiation. Either there was the sense that parents were resistant, hesitant to let go, right? And so there was never this individuation, or there might have been it might have been out of rebellion, right? So either there was like this attachment, possibly enmeshment with parents or family of origin, and so we found we either gave into it, right, or and just felt so powerless in it, or we rebelled and created this angry, rebellious act in order to move away. So there might have been a hiccup there, and we're still in reaction to that, right? And maybe it has trained us to handle relationship, or even earthly matters in a similar way, or even relationship to divine in a similar way. We see connections and reflections there, how we perceive God, a higher power. I'm just pulling some cards from the Doreen Virtue Oracle card decks. Okay. So holiday is the first card that's coming out. The answer you're looking for can be found during a vacation, retreat, or holiday getaway. So do you have an upcoming trip planned? This could also be over the holiday. Do you consider Samhain a holiday? Is that how you pronounce it? Samhain, Halloween. It could be a timing thing. Maybe releasing pent up creative energy with Halloween and dressing up and something like that. Feeling like getting out of the old routine. It could also be traveling to express your love to somebody. Go ahead and make the romantic gesture. It could also be someone traveling to you or you traveling to somebody. Are you in a long distance relationship or connection? Or maybe possibly meeting somebody that you will eventually express love for or feel a familiarity with, feel a connection, feel soul recognition, like you recognize this person, right? Oh, this is someone special. You recognize that maybe on an upcoming trip. And it creates a long-term connection there, someone you can share love with in one way or another. Not necessarily romantic, but just someone who can support you. Maybe someone who supports you in this process of releasing trust issues, right? Maybe this is someone who shows you that people can be trustworthy. Maybe you haven't had a lot of that experience. And maybe this person opens you to possibilities, opens you to the possibility of being able to lean on somebody, being able to depend on somebody, if you haven't had that a lot. Morning affirmations are coming in. Morning affirmations, say positive affirmations each morning to open the gates of manifestation. So what is it that you want to create? I had a spiritual teacher or guide for me who ended up becoming one of my Reiki masters. I went in depth with the sacred geometry and the symbolism of the Reiki symbols and the meaning with him. And before that, I was just going to him for deepening my self-understanding and my spiritual path. And he had me write out a list and narrow it down to, I think, 9 or 10 things I wanted to describe myself, or I wanted to embody, right? So it would turn into I am statements, affirmative statements. And at first it was like caring, genuine, helpful, all these things. And eventually it got really simple. Oh, that's why this card came out. Simplify your life. Simplify your life. Eliminate clutter from your home and work life to balance the flow of activities. But simplify. So eventually it became very simple, like I am love, I am peace, I am joy, right? Joy is coming up later in the cards too. I am joy. I am abundance, right? I am peace. I already said that. Just these statements in the affirmative, these affirmations about my identity to shift self-image and to really identify. I don't know that it really took. We also worked with mala strands. I used rudraksha seeds. He said that natural rudraksha seed was the best mala to work with because and to use your entire hand with all of your fingers with each bead. And a mala strand has 108 beads. So I would say these affirmations with my malas every morning. I am love, 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 108 times. I am peace, I am peace, I am peace, I am peace. This was part of my spiritual practice. So I took a week or two to really refine these affirmations, these statements. And then my practice was using the mala strand, the mala beads. And I still have those rudraksha beads. The rudraksha seeds. And using them to kind of like the rosary. It was very similar to the rosary. I was raised Catholic, and I did the rosary a lot. So it's similar in the repetition. So that might speak to you. Maybe you're drawn to a certain mala strand. Maybe you've never really known how to work with them, but you're just called to them. You're feeling drawn. So this might be about working with self-image, releasing those beliefs about who you are that are no longer applicable, or that were never applicable. It's just something you kind of took on, inherited, or erroneously believed. It was circumstantial. It had nothing to do with you, so you took it, but you took it on to define you, something like that. Maybe we're working on self-image and we're using the malas to do so. I also had like a strand of garnet malas that I got from Buddhist monks. They blessed it for me. Buddhist? Does that make sense? I believe that working with the malas is a Hindu tradition. I could be mistaken. It might have been Tibetan monks. Might have been Tibetan. I know that they were at East-West Living creating a sand mandala. But I think it's Buddhist tradition to practice impermanence through creating a mandala in sand, and then they must have been Buddhist. I might be also mixing up my memories. It happens, right? They flow together. Anyway, so we might be letting go of releasing, right? Releasing, letting go of self-image, identity, right? Maybe there is this identity as rebel, and so we're always rebelling against stuff. And that's not always the most effective approach, but it's so ingrained. And it's so part of our self-image that working with self-image is so powerful, right? If you see yourself as a winner, an achiever, you're going to take action to make sure that happens, right? You're just going to be like, well, that's an inevitable outcome, so I'm going to do what it takes to get there. Or if you see yourself as a loving, tender, kind person, that's how you show up, right? And you don't make excuses about it. It's just, that's your nature. That's who you are. Identity is so powerful. Self-image is so powerful. How do you see yourself? Are we transforming this image? Can we use affirmations or speak to ourselves in the affirmative to have power over that and shift? Power of joy, speaking of Buddhist monks, right? Maitreya is an expression of Buddha. Oh, and he has mala, a mala strand. Oh my God, that's crazy. He has a mala strand. I don't think that's Rudraksha. Might be sandalwood. Oh, maybe it is Rudraksha. Who knows? You know what I mean by Rudraksha? They're those little seeds that are really Google it. You'll know what it is. There are different kinds of malas, and they're all beneficial in their own way. I mean, sandalwood has the smell of sandalwood. It's so nice, and inhaling that aroma of sandalwood helps put us in the meditative state. I bring this up because it was my job to know all of this information at East West Living. Everyone that came in expected me to be an expert, right? I was at the front desk. I had to know everything about everything. So I learned quickly because I would give out misinformation, and it could be dangerous at times because people would come in there getting neti pots and things, and I'd be like, oh yeah, just throw some Epsom salts in there. You can't do that, by the way. Never do that. So it was, part of my self-image there and my identity there was, I'm an expert. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. That's my reputation. Even though I was not compensated, really, to have all that expertise. But I felt the pressure, and that was part of the environment, right? So I had to fit in. I had to know too. Everyone else there was an expert. I was hired based on my energy and my appearance. So, interestingly, the reason I got the job, I often say it was my energy because I had fallen in love. I had just fallen in love. Or I was in the throes of that. I was still in the romance period. So my energy was so heightened, right? I was just so positive. I basically was the power of joy. So when I interviewed, my energy was so, I'm sure, radiant and beautiful and coherent and through the roof, right? I'm sure it was such a high frequency. And I was able to turn around every situation and just like they were very busy and had me waiting. And I was like, oh no, that's a great indication that you'll need my help, right? And they were like, that's a really positive attitude. So I just was like in this positive state, and it was because I was in this heightened state of falling in love. The chemistry, the chemicals, right? They'll do it. They'll do it. And then that heartbreak, like I was saying at the beginning when I had that release, this is all coming in. This is intuition for you. I don't know why I'm surprised. And then I later on fell into the disillusionment phase, and there was separation in that relationship, actually pretty much complete abandonment. And on his part, which was easy to do because he was far away. It was a long distance relationship. So it was easy for him to sort of take his space when he wanted it. And I learned a lot about discernment through that relationship, and expectations, and like we had talked about marriage and having children together, and I thought he was my person, right? And so when I fell, it was like my first real love like that, where it was so mutual, and it seemed we had this mutual vision of a future together, and then the rug was ripped out from under me, and I was abandoned. And that was the worst, and it was right during my Saturn return, right? So I was entering my Saturn return in my late 20s, right? The influence of that, and feeling displaced in my apartment. It was like all this stuff was coming up. And it was in order for me to release some of this pain, the spiritual pain. I think it's an important part of initiation to have your first heartbreak, and I never really had that. I had a lot of unresolved situations, but I never had this kind of intense heartbreak. And I think that it was important for me, at least, to go through that. So I had more discernment going forward. That's what I gained from it, right? A stronger, more resilient heart. So it was the same person that got me the job at the Metaphysical Center because I was so in love. And then later fell, in this disillusionment, and had this healing experience with Reiki to heal that broken heart. That took a while to mend. And traumatized me. It traumatized me. So I'm still recovering, in fact. I feel like I had never allowed myself to trust so deeply. I think a lot of people have this experience, right? Where the love you're feeling for somebody else, when you're falling in love with somebody else, the world is in color for the first time. The lyrics, music of love songs actually have meaning for the first time. Everything's heightened. Tastes are more, pop out more. Scents are more pleasurable. Like, you're just in this euphoric state, and everything's heightened and has more meaning. And after that experience of coming down from that high and having that heartbreak, I don't know that I'll ever allow myself to go there again. I don't know that it's safe to. I don't know that, that might have been an out of balance situation. And I think that's part of discerning, right? Discerning, not using another person as a drug in that way. I think that's part of discerning. So releasing expectations of relationship to take me there, to that level all the time, or releasing the trauma that created that attachment to begin with, and that need for escape. Feeling like I wanted to be rescued. I was looking for a hero, probably subconsciously, and he found me. And I wasn't even looking. I was not looking for anybody. He barged into my life and forced me into connecting with him. and got me attached. So I definitely fought from the start, but then I gave in and allowed myself to fall, and it was a really intense experience. And I do feel that was my initiation to the healing path. I mean, I had been initiated on a spiritual path since I was a little girl learning piano, but as far as a healing path, I think that I didn't understand my wounds. I wasn't as self-aware. I was definitely more reactive, still out there valuing myself based on my wounding and not understanding my worth. So I do feel this is about self-image, because that's exactly, if I was going to talk to you about self-image, these are the things I would be talking about. I'd be talking about my time at musical theater conservatory, where I was receiving a lot of criticism and it was affecting me on a deep level. Instead of it being refining my craft that has nothing to do with me as a person, it was so part of my identity that I was not able to detach enough to take in the criticism. I couldn't take it in. So that's something I also had to shift, for sure. That self-image, because it was about self-image. How I saw myself. I couldn't bear the criticism. And then persistence is coming up. Persistence. Continuing to move forward, sometimes just crying out until every last drop was done, cried out, releasing it all, re-strategizing how I showed up. And for a time after that, I really only wanted to pine for people that never got too close. For a long time after that, I just, I had crushes, and that's all I was willing to do. And then I would also really withhold my feelings. I would pretend I didn't have feelings for them. And I think that happened, I had a few of those entanglements, and they were karmic resolutions because I saw past lives with those people. So then karmic resolution started, and those things kept coming back around, or kept coming into my experience to be resolved and release that person, right? So that can be another release card. As I persisted through that cycle, those connections, karmic situations that came in for resolution, I was only willing to have connections that were not long distance, but emotionally distant. So it was another way of forming connections that were distant. Get away from me. And I was not willing to, while I was investing emotionally, I just wasn't willing to get close. I was just too scarred. I was too traumatized from that heartbreak that I wasn't willing to let people get close. So I was only willing to relate to people. And it became this like, I care about you, but I don't want to care about you, so I'm going to pretend I don't care about you, and I'm actually going to pretend I don't even notice you. Just became this weird strategy. It was unconscious because I was then healing the shame I had. I had shame around having needs. I think that was what was initiated in the healing, was there was shame around having needs in relationship. And I think that's what came into my awareness. And interesting that all this happened as I worked in bookstores. So I was also just sort of digesting information. Just, that's all I could take in. I just wanted to connect with books and information and authors and teachers. You connect to your life purpose through your involvement with books. yeah, so do you identify as a learner as well? A seeker of information, of healing, of experiences, right? I also once had an amazing session with a psychic who told me a lot of things that were very helpful. Some were not. Created a lot of suffering. But one of the things that was expressed was that I'm an experiencer. I'm a caregiver, but also an experiencer. Those are my life themes. And I'm meant to just experience a lot of things. And like travel, experiencing the world, different forms of relationship connection, philosophies, theories, ideas, right? Experience, just experiencing different situations, circumstances, scenarios. So I need to read more fiction. That's what's coming in for me. That might be true for you too. Are you constantly reading self-help, self-improvement, psychology, nonfiction books? I'm getting that I might find more pleasure in reading nonfiction as well, based on topics that have maybe hidden opportunities to learn in them. My friend Krista recommended a series of books that were written by I'll recall and then maybe put in the description if I remember, but they're fiction books that I guess are written for a young, I don't know, teenage, early 20s audience, I guess. But she's like, clearly this person understands paganism, witchcraft, things like that. So it's like it's like in the book, and clearly she knows. So you should get into that. She's always encouraging me to read fiction, and I'm always reading nonfiction because I want to learn. But what's coming in is reading nonfiction, or reading fiction books might give me an escape and stimulate my creativity. And also Julia Cameron is coming in with the message, as an artist and a creative, you need to supplement your subconscious with imagery. That's what the artist dates are all about, right? We do morning pages to release. It's crazy. We do the morning pages to release, right? Get that out of there, outdated information. Get out the emotional residue, whatever it is. And then we take ourselves on artist dates to replenish images in the subconscious that give us inspiration. We do so and we do it alone, right? This isn't about entertaining others. This isn't about connecting with others. This is about connecting to art, images, ourself as an artist. So going to the museum, going to a movie, live music, and just taking all that in and allowing it to fill up our subconscious for inspiration and creativity and ideas. So as part of your self-image, I'm an artist, I'm a creative type. Maybe committing to doing things that are more satiating for you, like experiences, right? As an experiencer, maybe giving yourself experiences instead of like shopping trips, right? Simplifying your life. That can also mean like decluttering and not accumulating more. Maybe there's part of you that in order to self-soothe or to manage these intense emotions, you're shopping, right? Retail therapy. I can relate, but it feels good. I mean, it's fun. It's fun as a girl to go out shopping. But when it becomes an accumulation, hoarding, things we don't really need, that we're just doing it to sort of fill a void or soothe intense emotions and feelings and sensations. Because really what it comes down to is we're seeking peace. We want peace, right? So we may release, there we go. We might release intense emotions. Core energetics is coming up, right? Using a foam bat or something, or punching a pillow, something inanimate, right? And instead of injecting our pain into somebody else, releasing that, either through exercise or movements that get the energy out, shaking, right? Medical qigong, something that gets that charged energy out. Sometimes I'll use a selenite wand, or I'll use breath to comb through, whatever it takes to get to a place of peace. Do you hoard books? I used to be like that. Do you buy a ton of books? I used to I worked at a bookstore, so I lived in a mountain of books. It was like I was surrounded by, it made me feel so safe, actually. But that can be exacerbated earth, so that accumulation. So getting in touch with our creative fire and our passion can help burn up some of that excessive exacerbated earth. So choosing experiences, right? Investing in ourselves, investing in experiences, things that really speak to our soul, like travel, right? Traveling to a space. I was watching, and maybe doing so with your love, with someone you love, could be even more fulfilling and satiating. I was watching, I don't know where it was. Either it was an image on Instagram, or speaking of images, right, for the subconscious, it was either on Instagram or I saw it on YouTube or something. Someone taking a picture at the Coliseum. And it just like triggered something in me where it was like, I want to go there. Like, I would love to visit that and feel the vibes of that space and that location and just experience that. I feel like that would be so romantic to travel to places like that, and places that are rich in history, connected, even maybe connected to my ancestry, with the person I love, and experience that with them. That would be so fulfilling. So let's see what, I'm going to shuffle the archetype cards by Carolyn Neese and see what aspect of self wants to take the spotlight here. About release, what are we releasing? Maybe a part of us that needs integration for our self-image, right? Maybe we're not leaning on this part enough or calling on it enough, or it needs balanced. What part of us wants to take the spotlight? This is a big deck. It's very clunky to shuffle. It's an awkward size. What aspect of self? Mediator. Mediator. The light attributes: gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life, respect for both sides of an argument. The shadow attribute: negotiating with an ulterior motive or hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. So maybe an ability to see both sides of a situation or connection. Maybe there's a gift in that. There's a sense of fairness, a sense of justice. And that gives you an exceptional ability to release blame, release sense of blame or guilt or shame or resentment, because you're able to see both sides. You can see the needs of both parties, your own and the other party, the other person. And it's this gift, and maybe it's helpful in your work with other people. Maybe people come to you to understand situations because you have this clarity, this ability to see through, to understand what people are really needing and seeking. And maybe that helps calm and soothe people. Because sometimes what we do is we assume the worst. And we don't see it's just another person. It's just another human being with wounds, traumas. They're not evil. They're not this giant. They're not this demon, right? This evil, evil person who is trying to hurt us. Sometimes that can be true. Rarely, right? It can happen, but usually it's another wounded inner child, right? Someone else who's just carrying so much wounding. And they're overcompensating and they don't know. They don't have the tools to heal, to mature. And maybe our ability to see that and have an understanding and a compassion for that and see what's driving and motivating other people is a really refined skill based on past hurts. Maybe we've had to, out of our own self-protection, we just had to learn more. We had to, maybe that's part of what we researched or become or immersed ourselves in, this understanding of human behavior, this understanding of human motivation. So we can see what's driving each person based on behaviors, how they're showing up, energies, our intuition. We've seen this before, right? And maybe we can tune in, and maybe we have this incredible ability of seeing what people maybe even can't verbalize, but we can see the motivating force, so we can bring peace, choose peace to situations. Because we can simplify it down to the basic needs they're seeking. And most people have very similar needs. They just prioritize them differently, and their preference for how they're fulfilled are different. And we can say it in the affirmative, in a positive way that reframes it and brings healing and understanding on both sides. Maybe you are a relationship coach. Maybe you are an expert in creating conscious relationship, and that's something that you're skilled at guiding people through. Let's go to the tarot. I'm going to use traditional Waite-Smith deck, Rider-Waite. Any more information? Who wants to come through about this reading? About release, seeing both sides of a situation, improving our self-image, or updating it, affirming who we want to show up as, the energies we want to embody, and in training that through working with malas, nourishing the inner artist through experiences and images, finding more peaceful resolutions in relationship and guiding others in doing the same. Traveling for love. Oh, interesting. Okay. So the first card that comes out is the Chariot. Zodiac sign is Cancer, so that might have significance to you. But it is about fast movement, travel, moving towards something. Taking a journey. It is coming up with the holiday card. So it is about traveling somewhere, getting away. And then the Two of Pentacles is coming up. And this is having two choices we're juggling. Choices we're juggling. And that's coming up connected to clarifying the Express Your Love card. And it may be about you sense that you're an option, maybe, or this person is just one option, or you're choosing between love and career, or there's a choice here, right? There's a choice. They're weighing out. You're weighing out options, or they're weighing out options, and you can see there are ships on very very wavy waters, right? That's not a smooth sail. These ships on this this ocean. So maybe it is traveling by water, near water. So these options, right? Juggling these options, or you feel like an option. And then we have the Nine of Wands. This is someone holding their ground, recovering from battle. they're wounding, they're mending their wounds, right? You see their head is wrapped in bandage, just standing their ground, holding on to what remains, right? Standing your ground, just taking account for the damage that was done, and just sort of not moving forward, not moving one way or the other. This can also be healing wounds or managing the pain as you mend, biding your time by refining your craft, putting your energy and attention and focus into work. Carving out a path for yourself, creative pursuits, making money, honing your skills, refining your self-image about your productivity, your output, your abilities, right? Because this is coming up, clarifying the morning affirmations. Both of these cards are clarifying. Maybe this is the choice. Maybe this is the choice. Do I allow myself to just give into the wounding and just stand my ground and feel this pain and take this time, or, you know, sort of just waiting for the next attack or the next situation or the next experience to come in? Am I just biding my time and waiting for the next experience while I mend my wounds? Or am I putting all my focus and attention into work and moving forward intentionally, right? Am I waiting for things to happen to me, or am I making a decision and moving forward? Am I taking control through affirmations, whatever that is? And then the Fool card's coming up. A new beginning. The Fool's journey, the first step, purifying the mind, right? The white rose, purifying the mind in silence and solitude. Maybe that's part of simplifying, is through meditation, enlightenment, trusting the wisdom that you've, of the experiences you've come through, and then having faith and trust that you'll be guided on the journey, and with the ability to take the first step and then this next part of the journey. Maybe you're trusting that. And maybe instead of standing and waiting for your ships to come in, waiting for one specific person, it could be, or opportunity, maybe you're moving away from that, because that follows, not only does it follow the Fool card, but it also comes up to clarify the let it go. Maybe the thing you've been waiting for, or the opportunity you were waiting for, maybe you've expanded your view and you see all the options or possibilities, right? Choices. You feel you have more choice now. You've expanded your view. Maybe you're open to different possibilities, open to different paradigms and experiences, instead of this one rigid way. As you expand your self-image and your point of view and your beliefs and how you identify that self-image, maybe the possibilities for you open as well. And you can see that through this expansion. And maybe you also see that joy is a possibility again, that you can experience joy again. Maybe you're reinstating some trust and faith that it's okay to go there emotionally. But sometimes what happens is, if we've had a traumatic experience, we find it, we cower away from those euphoric feelings because we sense that they are associated with a huge letdown. And that's in the central nervous system, right? Our nervous system braces itself. We brace ourselves for the letdown, for the disillusionment, for the association of that the punishment that we associate, the consequences of going there emotionally, feeling that joy. We're like, well, other shoe's about to fall, right? It's just a matter of time. And it might be based on this one experience, and we just decide that's how it's always going to work. So maybe that fear gets triggered sometimes. Maybe that fear gets triggered. But we're finally open to experiencing joy again because this isn't working out. Maybe we've played the waiting game and we're ready to let it go and move forward. The Wheel of Fortune card's coming up. Releasing karmic cycling through. Releasing karmic connections. Maybe we're allowing one relationship to carry too much weight and allowing that one experience to have too much meaning. And so we think that's what relationship is like. That's what it's going to feel like forever. I can't let it back in. So we go to Nine of Pentacles. There are worse places to be than this independent, confident person who values money and finances over love. Maybe we've decided that's what's valuable. You know, love isn't really a possibility for me anyway, so maybe I'll just choose a partner who's very affluent, or I'll become very affluent so no one can deny me, right? Who's going to dismiss someone who has everything to give, right? And this is how we've decided to persist and move forward. Well, I'll allow this karmic cycle to pass, and I'm going to change up the paradigm by taking care of everything. I'm going to have it all. I'm going to have it all independently. And then I won't have to depend on anybody ever again. Right? I'll find comfort in connection with animals and nature. And experiencing that independence. And maybe also adorning myself with beautiful clothes, jewelry. And maybe this is also, I'm going to change my image. I'm going to shift my image on the outside. I'm going to fake it till I make it. So maybe I don't feel so good about myself. Maybe I'm not so confident. But I'm going to dress like I am. I'm going to dress like I'm high value. I'm going to dress like I'm high class, right? I'm going to make people think I'm this high value person through image. And that's how I'll take care of it, right? But then soon, the High Priestess in us is calling for alchemy, calling for true transformation. The spiritual side of us knows that that's not all there is. And maybe that's part of the mediator, right? Maybe that's part of the mediator, is that internal conflict of, I want to have impact and freedom on the spirit, or on the earth plane, the material world, but I also want to be enriched and nourished spiritually. And how do they work together? Are they separate? Do they come together? Can both be true? Can I be both? Can I concern myself with the way I look, how much money I earn, making an impact, being valued, being seen as attractive, whatever it is, and caring for myself, being independent, as well as being connected, having a connection to higher power, connected to spirituality. And this is also part of telepathic communication, inner alchemy, changing where it really counts, right? Doing that inner work. So maybe they're coming together. The Nine of Pentacles and the High Priestess coming together, so that while I want to feel completely independent, I am an interdependent person. It's a species. That's how we are as humans. So I'm going to find connection through higher power, higher calling, higher purpose. There's a higher purpose for my existence here, so I'm going to dive into spiritual texts, learning spiritual modalities and philosophy, and that's how I'll find meaning. And maybe this is also indicative of having those connections that are very spacious and distant, and where we aren't speaking. I'm not really revealing that I have any needs for a relationship. I'm giving the appearance that I'm very independent. Giving the appearance that I don't need anybody. I don't really like you. I don't need you. I got this all on my own, right? Right? So I'm not talking to you. And then the Seven of Pentacles comes in. Taking stock of the fruits of our labor, growth, how the flourishing of our investments, observing, seeing how the seeds we've planted are growing fruit. Seeds we've planted in the subconscious, right, with the affirmation work. Seeds of connection we've planted in relationship. Those experiences and those images we've implanted in the subconscious have nourished us. And then we might go inside and meditate and find true recovery from battle, right? Instead of holding our ground and being stubborn, right? Stubborn. And owning this wounding and just saying, I'm wounded, so I can't do more. I'm wounded, so I'm standing my ground. I'm just going to focus on my work. That's all I can manage. Walking away. Maybe a strategy was walking away from being open to another connection coming in. Nope. Starting a new paradigm. What else? Right? What else can I do? Not interested in that anymore. I'm done cycling out these karmic connections. This is tiresome. So I'm owning my independence. Connecting to my spiritual self, spiritual nature, higher power, and I'm just going to focus on that. I'm just going to focus on those fruits. And then we might find we're called to meditation, really going inside and doing inner work, true healing, true mending, deep belly breaths, right? To reset the vagus nerve, reset the central nervous system, right? Because some of these things that where we can't get to the state without bracing ourselves, we might find breath work during the meditation helps us experience more peace as we reset the central nervous system, breathing more deeply. Let's see what crystal wants to come in. I don't know this one. Clinozoisite. I know zoisite, but clinozoisite. Detoxification, forgiveness, vitality. Resonates with the solar plexus and heart chakras. So detoxification, right? That's another form of release. Releasing toxins, releasing emotional residue. My heart is healed through understanding and forgiveness. Seeing both sides, right? Understanding. I understand. I understand where you were coming from. I understand that you were just trying to get your needs met. You were navigating your own fears, as was I. It wasn't you were this evil monster. It was, our wounds dovetailed. And as soon as they were triggered and initiated, it all comes crashing down, right? My heart is healed through understanding and forgiveness. I understand you were afraid too. Detoxification, forgiveness, vitality. Reinstating that sense of vitality. Resetting the nervous system. Let's go to the Essential Oils Oracle cards by Lisa Powers and see what essential oil wants to lend its aroma and vibration, healing properties. So 2 cards showed up. I'm going to take it. They popped out. Douglas fir. Keyword is resolution. The past haunts me is the trigger statement. The true statement, in this moment, I am free. Let yourself be the one to heal the wounds passed down from your ancestors and release and grow. And the release and growth begins with you. Release. Let yourself be the one to heal the wounds passed down from your ancestors. The release and growth begins with you. Wow. Let's read a little bit more about Douglas fir. The oil of generational wisdom. Douglas fir and white fir share many similar qualities. However, Douglas firs live a longer life and would be considered the older and wiser of the 2 trees. They both address generational issues by inviting individuals to break free from destructive traditions passed down through their families. Like white fir, Douglas fir assists individuals to live according to their own conscience and values by letting go of harmful patterns. It teaches that each generation can be a gift of new life, new growth, new beginnings. New beginnings. Similarly, Douglas fir can also assist with increasing the bond within one's family. It encourages healthy family dynamics where people in meaningful relationships are valued over blind loyalty to traditions. Promotes generational healing, respect for elders, wisdom, learning from the past. Learning from the past, integrating that information instead of overcompensating, right? And then the next oil that comes out is coriander. honoring self, right? Honoring self. So the trigger statement for coriander is, this is the way it has always been done. And the true statement is, I create my way. You are ready to fulfill your desires by thinking outside the box. The path less traveled may be more fulfilling. That's funny that travel's coming up, as well as with the Chariot. Expressing love comes up, right? Are you expressing love and honor to your family system by following a traditional pattern, a trajectory, a relationship pattern? Sometimes we express love by unconsciously taking on pain of a family member that we don't want to suffer alone. So out of allegiance, we'll hurt in the same way. We'll take on that wound, right? So is this what we're doing? Are we showing allegiance and suffering in a similar way as someone in our ancestral line has done, so that they don't have to suffer alone? Can you see that? So coriander, let's look up a little more information about coriander. It's the oil of integrity. Coriander is the oil of integrity, specifically integrity with oneself. The person in need of coriander oil may be trapped in a cycle of serving others while neglecting their own needs. They may also have a strong desire to do what is right or correct. Often the mind's perspective of the right way is too limited when seen from only one perspective. Coriander reminds individuals that there is more than one way to do something, and that fitting in often requires betraying the true self. So you might want to inhale coriander if you're feeling controlled by others, betraying yourself, feeling drudgery or conforming, and then positive properties: true to self, inner guidance, integrity, unique. Right? Guided, inner guidance. So is it time to forgive? Are we blaming, and that's binding us, right, to an ancestor? And how can the intermediator, the light attributes of the intermediator, come into play? Instead of using the shadow qualities and having a hidden agenda or ulterior motive, right, such as secretly doing something to get praise or love or acceptance or belonging or approval, whatever it is that we deem the resource we're seeking or the energy we're seeking, can we release the need for that and honor ourselves? Maybe up our self-image as I am integrity. Can that be one of the affirmations? And can our intermediator help us see both sides to build understanding, so that we're no longer overcompensating based on the wounds of somebody else, wounds of our ancestors, right? Can we honor ourselves in that way and then honor the ancestry in that way? Nice. One last card. I'm going to go to the Crazy Sexy Love Notes cards by Chris Carr and see what card wants to wrap up this reading, and then we'll do a short sound healing meditation. One last card to wrap this reading about release. releasing old paradigms or dynamics that are no longer working or never really worked. We just kind of took it on blindly out of allegiance to our family system. We're starting a new beginning, getting in touch with the intermediator. Upcoming trip or travel might put us in touch with someone who shows us how to love in a new way, or a newfound love of self, right? A new self-image, giving ourselves experiences as opposed to material possessions. Learning to value things differently, value our spiritual quest, valuing our inner resources, valuing our self-respect, and integrity over appearances and image. Is this what we're working on? Creating resolution in a relationship. Choosing peace. One final message to wrap up this reading. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Is this about expressing love? Tell the truth. Communicate with integrity. You may need to level with someone. This person could even be you. Are you saying you're fine when you don't mean it? Are you swallowing your needs because you don't want to rock the boat? When we hide the truth, it eventually comes out in destructive ways. Act with integrity and say what's on your mind. While honesty may lead to short-term discomfort, your long-term peace and happiness are worth it. Choose peace. Choose peace. So many synchronicities. Okay. Choose peace, communicate with integrity, creating our own way, getting in touch with that creative part of us, and nourishing that creative part, creative aspect with images and experiences and art, travel. Maybe that's how we express our love to ourselves instead of buying ourselves material possessions. All right, let's do a little bit of sound healing here. See what we want to get in touch with here. So maybe tune in and see where your intuition leads you, guides you. I'm just tuning into what tuning forks are needed here. So let's use the sound as a tool to lift us to a higher perspective of what's needed here. If this reading brought up questions for you, if you need more certainty around something or guidance, use the sound here to help you get in touch with that, your sense of integrity, what about your self-image needs updated, right? What's outdated, and what are you carrying for your ancestors? What's a pattern that we can break? Can you grow in understanding, right? Is there someone else there that relationship is in conflict with right now, and you need to build some understanding there? whatever it is, whatever this brought up for you, let's use your intuition to bring in some more information that's really specific to you. Getting in touch with your inner knowing, right? Nothing should be valued more highly, right? The information that comes through for you from me should not carry more weight than your own inner knowing and guidance system, right? So let's get you in touch and in tune with that. I'm just tuning into what tuning forks might be needed here. So deep belly breaths, right? Really, really setting the nervous system through deep belly breaths, maybe sweeping the energy field, scanning the energy field with the mind, combing through any stagnant energy, what wants to flow through, what can ground down to be recycled by Mother Earth. And then opening and softening and allowing whatever guidance wants to come through, using the sound, playing off the sound. What is the sound? How does the sound carry your mind? Or what guidance is resonated and brought in through the sound? How do you want to use it? Keeping in touch with your breath. Good, deep breaths. Coming back to the room, noticing how the energy system wants to recalibrate now. With that release, with that update to the self-image, with that new information, can we integrate that? Bring vitality back to the system. Beautiful. So I hope you found that helpful and valuable. Thank you for sharing that with anyone who may find resources in these readings, this one in particular. Thank you for liking and subscribing to the channel. That's really valuable to me. Shout out to all my clients. Thank you for being so inspiring and powerful. And thank you to all who are donating to the channel. Check out my Instagram, urban_empath. That's my handle, urban_empath. I have other content over there that's separate from this that I hope brings value to you as well. Thank you for commenting and letting me know that these are resonating and how they're resonating with you, and I really appreciate that. It's very meaningful and moving to me. It's always a wow, right, for me to see that other people are resonating and finding the information that's coming in useful and helpful. If you're interested in services, a personal session, that information will be in the description of this video. All right, I look forward to connecting with you in the future, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye, empath.